20 people suspected of involvement in the 2015 Paris terror attacks is due to reach a verdict in the next few hours after 10 months of testimony. 130 people were killed and nearly 500 injured when Islamist terrorists launched suicide and gun attacks in France's worst ever peacetime atrocity. One of the suspects, Salah Abdeslam, is said to be the only survivor of the group that carried out the attacks. 6 accomplices are also on trial, although all but one are believed to have died in Syria or Iraq. Well, Douglas Yates is a doctor of political science at the American Graduate School in Paris. Welcome back to the programme, Douglas. So these terror attacks, of course, took place in 2015. Can you remind us of what happened?
Well, effectively on Friday night, Friday the 13th, there were a series of attacks. First at the big soccer stadium north of Paris, the Stade de France, where France and Germany were playing a friendly match. The president, then President François Hollande, was there, and there were 3 people who blew themselves up bombs. Some died. Then machine gunners went to terrace restaurants and bars and cafes and started shooting people randomly seated at terraces drinking that Friday evening outside. The biggest attack was the Bataclan nightclub, where there was a concert being given by the Eagles of Death, and there over 90 people were shot and killed. Hundreds, 430 people were wounded, 130 dead. It was a bloody night and quite a shock.
So this was 2015, as you say. This trial happening now, why has it been such a long time coming?
That's a good question. So we've got to compare it to something like Guantanamo Bay, where there's never been a trial, to be reasonable. But let me just kind of walk you through it. 2015, the attacks occurred. Most of the people who committed those attacks, they were suicide bombers. They were dead. Those whose bombs didn't go off fled. Either they went to Syria to fight with Daesh in the war against Bashar al-Assad, or they went up to Belgium, where they committed other attacks in Belgium. So they weren't arrested till about a year later, in 2016. Then by 2017, extradition had started to France, but these people were elsewhere. They were outside of France. They were silent. They were refusing to cooperate. So finally, there was a Belgian trial that finished in 2018. So they were held there to serve on their own trial in Belgium. And they were convicted of 20 years in Belgium. And then finally, they get sent to Paris. By 2020, they're down in Paris. And then what's happening in 2020? There's COVID. So in 2021, the trial was supposed to begin, but one of the main accused people got COVID. Their lawyers delayed the process, which couldn't start again until January of this year. So it was slow going, but it was always in movement.
So we're still waiting for a verdict in this particular trial, due any minute now. It's been lasted 10 months, hasn't it? How has it played out in France?
Well, at first, there was a kind of an excitement, because I think people thought that it'd be a pretty quick process. People in the Anglo-American world are used to speedy criminal justice, but here it wasn't like that. This was like a Nuremberg-style special court. They actually built special facilities. They had 300 witnesses. I went to see 2 or 3 of them because anyone could go in and watch. But these were weeks and weeks of witnesses, of victims' families. There's 2,500 civil plaintiffs in this case because they combine criminal and civil. There were, dilatory moves made by the defense. Every day here in France, here in Paris, on the street, basically where I live, you would have police wagons blocking off the road in circulation. Downtown near the Notre Dame cathedral that everyone knows, traffic would be stopped as these prisoners were brought from Maison de la Santé, the last prison in France, down to the court. So there was a presence, there was an irritation, but basically there was so much information that soon people lost the thread, the way that many people have lost the thread in the war in Ukraine.
Douglas Yates from the American Graduate School, thanks very much indeed for talking to us today.
You're watching